many times do you hear people call you Mrs. Robinson and sing the song?
Oh, every time.
Exactly.
Every time.
But you are a very different Mrs. Robinson than
Yes.
that woman.
Yes. I would say so. I would agree with that.
I'm
Yes.
glad I wasn't going to go near that subject at all.
I know, but
mean,
it's just like comes off your hand. Anyway, we are living the authentic life luxuriously, the vintage contestant in times past, and we are so honored to have Britny as our guest today. She is an amazing woman. We meet with tastemakers from throughout Texas who really share commitment, connection, and authenticity. And when I first met this woman, she was so authentic. We sat down and, of course, dove into fashion first, but quickly went to talking about FFA as kids and how she raised animals in McAllen, Texas. But before we dive into all about her fabulous journey, I got to do a shout out to Adam Andrus, our sound engineer, who we love dearly. We could not come to you in all the formats that we come to you without him. And this is our 5th episode. So, Britny, you grew up in McAllen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley, and you got a Bachelor's of Science in Molecular Biology and a minor in chemistry.
Yes.
You go, girl. I love that. Our daughter is excelling in math and science.
Really?
It's really something that we're pushing with
Yes,
her.
yeah.
Because I think it's not generally, although Adam, your wife, is working at Johnson Space City and she's a
wow.
engineer. So girl
Oh, my
power.
goodness.
I love that.
Yeah.
But you recently, 3 years ago, I guess not so recent, after you met your husband and you have 2 beautiful boys, Fisher and Clyde, and you decided to leave your medical sales business and open the Beehive
Yes.
3 years ago. And then you launched the 501c3 Stewards of Restoration, which I've been telling so many people about your work with human trafficking.
Thank you.
So why don't you share a little bit about the Beehive? We've talked about how much we love bees. Our former podcast, that was the symbol.
Yeah, I noticed that. The first thing I noticed was the bee, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to totally get along.
Exactly. So tell us why you chose the bee and how you came up with that name.
You know, I guess my whole life, just having bee as an initial, my mom would always say, oh, my little bee, you know. And so Queen Bee kind of vibe stuck with me forever. And so I kind of just put that on as my brand for the blog. So it's been fun.
And I love that even on your website that I spent so much time diving into your blog, the photos, the Gilded Hive, everything goes back to that.
Yes.
And every part of your fashion business goes towards helping traffic victims. Tell
Yes.
us how you came to that place.
Yeah. So when we established the nonprofit, you know, there's so many ways to fund your organization. So I just figured, why not have one of those revenues be a fun way that kind of correlates with the blog and my love for fashion and lifestyle blogging. And so the jewelry store, you know, came to mind, and I wanted to incorporate the bee. So the Gilded Hive, you know, that's kind of where I came up with the name, and proceeds go to the nonprofit for housing for survivors of human trafficking. So it's been really exciting.
Well, I love that you take fashion to connection and community.
Yeah.
And that's so much about what the bees are doing. They're moving around with the pollen and they're taking something
Yeah.
from this place to the next. I mean, the alliteration and the way it all comes together. So you've collaborated with a lot of people. You are a phenomenal blogger, influencer. Tell us about how you've grown with your numbers and how you worked with Like to Know It. Tell us a little bit about the mechanics of that, because there's so many young girls out there that want to grow up and be a fashion girl influencer.
Right.
Like that's their goal.
Yeah, yeah.
And you went from chemistry to this?
I know, it's kind of crazy. I was pre-med in college, so that was my initial path. And then upon graduating, I realized that I wanted to just start working right off the bat. And I ended up in the healthcare field, so I was in there for 7 years. And I think that background helped me for sure. But yeah, so the blog, I mean, I would say, you know, to those who are aspiring to be bloggers and influencers, it's a big space, and to be noticed and really have a brand that stands out is all about authenticity, which is why I loved the idea of getting on here and speaking on this, because that's really what your podcast is really focused on, is authenticity. So over the years, it's really evolved like crazy. When I first started, I honestly had no idea what I was doing. It was like a self-learning thing, and I researched and did all the photography research, and then I don't think it was as popular as it is now, even 3 years ago, I feel like. But I think that what's helped me the most is just staying true to myself, and I think people see through someone who's just kind of putting on and pretending to be someone they're not. I think the more real you are, they can relate to you so much better, and they want to follow you in your life.
Well, Rob has seen me be this, take my picture, let's do this, and he and Bella have been so frustrated at moments. They're like, Mom, why does everything?
Not another picture.
My husband would agree 100%.
Yes, but I see that you incorporate him.
Yeah,
And now that
yes.
Rob's doing these videos every day,
Yeah.
he realizes it's not glamorous. And some days you are not in the mood.
No.
And I read that you said so much about COVID, and we want to jump into that
Yeah.
now that COVID is spiking here. It's changed the way we do business, the way we
Yeah.
connect as friends, the way families connect. But Rob said it's not easy. It's not easy to show up every day.
And smile
Yeah.
and have to put that on
Right.
and be on and game on. And
Yeah.
you make mistakes, and everyone sees this glamorous on Instagram, how everything is wonderful. But you didn't see the 7 times we tried to do that video to make my wife happy.
Exactly.
You need to
photos.
smile more. Smile. I'm sitting there going, yay. I finally learned how to say, Fry, yay,
Yeah.
when she does her videos, because that means I don't have to do a video till Monday.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes.
So tell us about that journey, because you also are not just about products. We found that people respond to us when we're sharing our lifestyle and our journey. And that's what I really loved about diving into your website, is it isn't just product. It's not just, but we do have to talk about product. This C I absolutely love. This
Thank
is from
you.
her collection,
Yes.
and a portion of the proceeds go to trafficking.
Yes.
But your talk about home, like this week, I think has it been almost the full week, you've talked about restyling your home, and people are even more connected to their homes now after COVID
yeah,
has happened.
for sure.
Because we're not all flying away or going out. We're like there every day.
Yeah.
So tell about that part of your journey.
Yeah, so I for sure have been inspired. I guess when you're home all day, you kind of see what needs to be fixed and what could get a little revamp. So I've been doing that and painting walls, and my husband's kind of freaking out. So, that he gets along with it. He's such a trooper. I was painting the stairs, and he was kind of like, really? You're going to paint them like black trim? I'm like, yeah. It looks good, don't you think? He's like, yeah, sure. And then afterwards, when it's done, he's like, oh my God, this looks great. So, anyway, that's been fun. I always love doing home decor stuff, but I do share articles on there that really kind of hit home, because I want to, reach back out and say, hey, I'm a real person. I'm a real mom. These are life struggles that we deal with together, and COVID did truly shake our family to our core. I mean, my husband, got slapped with a hefty pay cut, and we battled through that. And so there was like the uncertainty of a financial future, and we learned a lot of lessons about how to restructure our finances in the process. So some good did come out of it, it was terrible. People lost their jobs, and we have friends who lost their jobs and who are still unemployed. Fortunately, Kirk still has his job, and we're doing okay. But, we learned things like, we refinanced our house, which was helpful. And I shared that because I think people should really look into doing that.
You paid off your truck? I
Yeah,
saw
he paid off the rest of his debt on his car.
That's a Jeep, not a truck.
I know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's a Jeep driver too,
really?
so
Yes,
he
yes.
really loved
Okay.
that. Reading it last night.
Kirk loves his Summit, so he's all about that car. We just, We really learned a lot. We paid off a lot of debt, and so we're in a better financial standing now than we were before. We just need to get out of, the aftermath of the shutdown was like detrimental. So we're
Right. I mean, it's what's
surviving.
crazy is this wasn't a typical shutdown. It's like a Category 5 hurricane hit us.
Yeah.
And then it just stayed here. It's like Harvey over and over and over. And we
Every
don't know
day.
when the oil patch is going to come back. We don't know when people are going to get their jobs. And now we're opening restaurants. And now I went to the gym for the first time this week,
Wow.
yesterday. And I've got my mask. And everybody's walking around with masks. And friends we've known our whole lives are distancing 6 foot away. And we're
Yeah.
all looking at each other like we're sick or we could hurt each other with this invisible disease. It's a real disease, but it's just changed our social structure. That used to be my place of camaraderie and the fun of going there and doing all that. Now it's weird. We have to
Yeah.
reinvent ourselves
Yeah.
on doing that and pivot. With your finances and changing all that up. We've learned we don't go out to dinner any longer.
right.
We've learned to, I cook.
Or we go out much less. We
much
would
less.
go
Yeah.
out probably 4 or 5 days a week between lunch and dinner, and now it's
once a week
once.
maybe, and right now with what's going on, we don't want to go out at all.
Yeah.
I'm getting really good at barbecuing.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah,
so
that's
a good
fun.
skill. And
Summertime.
summertime is
Cookout.
really nice.
Yeah,
Yes,
uh-huh.
yes.
And we learned to stand up paddleboard. I've noticed that you
Oh,
said pick up
nice.
a new hobby.
Yeah.
Did you, as a family, have a new hobby?
We spend a lot of time outside swimming. The boys love the pool.
Oh, you guys have a pool?
We do, and I
It looks
honestly
like a
think that that's
resort
what
pool.
saved us
Yes.
in the shutdown, because we were like trying
With
to
2
entertain our
young
best.
boys with so much energy.
Yeah.
And I read this great blog post, I guess, and you wrote, I personally believe, and she's talking about her personal beliefs,
Yes.
not making a statement for the world, but it resonated with me, that God had a hand in this for a reason. I feel the country was going down a deep and dark path of evil and was spiraling in a direction away from God, and he completely turned us on our heads for it. I feel the country, we were obsessed with money, greed. We were obsessed with social media, false idols. We were obsessed with business, and our focus was turning from our family units. We took God out of schools and replaced him with one-sided political teaching, not in all cases, but at some colleges. And our morals and ethics from the Constitution were being muffled. We were at the point we couldn't even have a civil debate without wanting to kill each other over our beliefs. And it doesn't mean that God gave us this because we deserved it. I don't believe that God punishes, but I do believe he uses very unfortunate circumstances to bring us back to good and back to him. And you said so much of what I have had conversations with my mom about. She goes to Mass every day and couldn't even go to Mass. We were
Yeah.
prevented from going to church, so we had to find even a new way to connect with God in this journey.
Yeah.
We went to Mass for the first time this weekend in community, and I cried watching all the old people there risking their lives
To
and
go.
get to go to be with God.
Yeah.
So share with us some of your words and thoughts in addition to what you've shared here.
Yeah, I mean, well, Easter was definitely different this year,
Yeah.
televised, and it's all been online, which has been good, but it's not the same, But yeah, I mean, I truly feel that that article came from the heart. I mean, I fully believe every word that I put out there, and it was just like it's truly been a year of awakening, I feel like, in a lot of ways. But more so for me, a test of my faith, and it's been like the biggest test I've ever faced, I think, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. But I think that my faith is stronger than ever after this, and I think it's crazy how that shutdown was probably the scariest time of my life, just because everyone's so fearful of the unknown, and when people don't know what's going to happen, we freak out, and so I was definitely freaking out. But just to remember to be faithful, we started tithing in that period of time, and so we were giving 10% of what we would bring in to the church, even though we weren't going, so we were paying like online. And the second we started doing that again, things started turning, and that's when we started getting clarity on how to get ourselves out of financial difficulty during the shutdown. And so it was like a revolutionary moment in my mind that God matters at all times. I mean, he can take everything away from you in a second. And so I'm getting emotional. But so it changed everything for us, and I think that it was like this is seriously validation that he is our foundation.
And I completely agree. Rob and I have had so many of these discussions, and I certainly went on that journey. In the beginning, when it was happening, I was like, okay, how am I going to talk about fashion? What does my brand even mean in this moment in time when people don't have a job, when people are sick, when people are losing
People are dying.
loved ones?
Yeah. And they can't even be in the hospital to
Together.
say goodbye. Like, that is really,
Yes.
ugh.
Can't have funerals.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And this week, big shout out to Alma Wofford, who is like a mother to both of us, and she's our former office manager who retired, but we wouldn't ever let her retire. And she has COVID, and her family is suffering with it, and her husband just came out of ICU and is finally at home, but getting oxygen. And it gives you this perspective. It changes everything in your life. And so much of what I would do is like look forward to the next thing that I was going to do. What trip am I going to take? What's the next plan? What charity event am I going to raise money for? What's the next thing that I can do? Because I'm such a doer in type A.
Right.
And when all that's stripped from you, you have to look inside and truly turn to Scripture. I love Jeremiah. I'm Catholic, so I'm not good at all the numbers. But it's God says, I have plans for you, plans for hope and a future.
Yes.
And that was something that I read continually just to get in my head, God's got this. And there were so many things that we planned that we wanted to consider doing. We looked into getting a new space. We looked into bringing on more employees. We looked into all these things. And God gave us no's that were a yes. He knew his plan was better than ours.
Yeah.
And I just, for me, I also have really connected with yoga. And
Nice.
The other thing is being Catholic, we say, may the word of God be in my heart and on my lips and in my, or in my mind, on my lips and in my heart. But in yoga, when you do these things too, they're your chakras too. So I am not professing to everyone that they have to do it our way, but I'm just saying that I believe that if you have a spiritual partner in this journey and that you talk to whoever that spiritual partner, for me, it's Jesus Christ. For me, it's God. But if you are Buddhist or Muslim or whatever it is, that you know that there's something greater in life than us in the moment, and you turn to that's the way that we can all come out of this together is through that journey.
I totally agree.
And we saw so much grace from that. And I agree with the tithing situation. I found that too. Like there's moments when I thought, how can I give this right now when we're in a hard place?
Yeah.
But whenever
we've struggled, and the more we've given, the more we've gotten back, and we weren't trying to do it that way.
Right.
But we've learned it's funny how that works. Or another mantra, whatever you want to say. I have the luckiest people that we know are the hardest workers, and the harder we worked at giving and trying to help others, it in turn helped us too as a whole, because we were trying to help other people. It's I'm not as good a souled person as my wife, but I'm getting better every day. And the giving and the religion and church, I grew up Catholic. Kind of took off for a little while in college and did things different till we were married.
Yeah.
And we go to church. I go 95% of the time. Danae goes every week, or we watch it on TV now, or that.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how that's made a difference. And that knowing that we are not the most significant things, that there is a higher power out there to look to.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I mean, it's not ours. Our belongings and our money. It's not.
You can't take it with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that's the hard thing about so many people in the journey, is that the church has disappointed people And I want to say, because we, on our prior podcast, interviewed Mike Resendez, who exposed the molestation in the Catholic Church. So I want to tell people clearly, I understand there are issues and problems with the church. I understand there is not always authenticity. But I believe the authenticity comes in the relationship that we have with God and not necessarily with the church.
Right.
So I think that's been a difficult thing that all of us during this, and with the death of George Floyd and so many things happening that are just stripping us of so many things that we're all like trying to find out what's real, what in life is real, what politicians real, what
Well,
police.
let's hold on. There aren't that many politicians that are
That's
real.
true.
Let's just get this right now, but that's another subject.
Right.
But are the police real? Are they genuine? And from my experience, the working with Crime Stoppers and doing what we've done to try to keep our community safe, I want to believe that overall that the police in Houston and Chief Acevedo and the sheriff and everyone in the city of Houston is considering us and the decisions that they're making,
Yeah.
that there's still room for conversation. Just like
Sure.
individually, there's room for growth in every conversation.
Right.
And I appreciate that we're having conversations and talking about these things. And I've had much more in-depth conversations with my friends who are African American about their journey and things I didn't realize had happened to them. And I think that that's the only good that we can say of COVID or these is that maybe we're more open. And I loved what Jamie Kajendu said when he came in and was our podcast guest. He said we should listen more than we talk.
Yes. We're so quick to have an opinion based on someone else's opinion. And we're not listening to each other. We're fighting with each other, and I think so much has happened this year in general too. I mean, we just came out of a shutdown and now we're fighting with each other, with all these issues happening currently. It's crazy, but I think we can unify if we come together. But, I'm really praying and hoping that that happens sooner than later.
Absolutely.
We may not agree with the same opinions politically
Right.
or on any of the issues, but we should be able to accept the other people's opinions.
Respectfully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with some of my best friends on politics and other issues, but we've been friends so long, we agree to not discuss those things, respect each other for the time we've put in our friendship together.
Yeah.
And that's why the world works. We're completely divided, but yet we should be able to all get along and play in the sandbox.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
So let's get back to sex trafficking. I appreciate, so you're working with this organization. You and your husband have been looking at real estate. You started this organization to help traffic victims. And
Yes.
I was hoping, because COVID's happening, that there aren't as many victims, but I've heard that the numbers are still there, and
Yeah.
the services that we can offer to them. I know that you have attended some of the Houston area against trafficking groups, and certainly on prior podcasts, we had Jennifer Homan, who you have met, who's
Yeah.
a huge leader, and
Yes.
we both have joined Houston 20 in our efforts. Can we talk a little bit about where that situation is right now with the need for housing? And is it more extreme now, or is it better now that COVID has happened?
Well, I think it's more crucial than ever to be able to have more available to survivors right now, especially because I follow Tim Ballard, who I don't know if you've heard of him. He founded Our Rescue, and his organization has done amazing things to rescue children out of human trafficking all over the world. So he's a former CIA agent. He's got amazing ties, and his organization is incredible. So I follow him on social media, and he made a comment the other day and said that during the COVID process or situation, it was hard to nail down the case number, whether it had increased or decreased. However, the calls that have come in to the hotlines have increased 40%. So I know that whatever's happening is obviously not good. So I was also on a call with the Samaritan Women's Group.
Mm-hmm.
They've been offering housing to survivors for years now. And so I'm learning more and more about how I can be better and what I need to set myself up for with our nonprofit to be able to offer this housing and these services to survivors. And, we discussed that housing is extremely crucial right now. It's one of those pioneering spaces where we're still learning how to best provide, but we're all doing it together. And I mean, the collaboration has been great, learning from everyone, networking. But yeah, I really do think that housing is extremely crucial right now. We need more of it. And, that's the reason why we started this nonprofit to begin with, was there was such a need here in Houston, especially for more housing.
Well, with Houston 20, we're working with Hope Rising, and we were just able to get a huge facility for women who have been trafficked, and are opening that up. And it's been such an incredible journey to do that. I also noticed that you are pulling clothes, and I know at Houston 20 we're trying to do that.
Yeah.
Tell a little bit about that journey also.
So, I haven't really launched anything officially, but I just want to be able, since I have kind of a network with the blogging community here in Houston, I thought maybe I can reach out to some of them and start a closet going where, when these survivors start getting the tools they need to interview for employment, so they can stay safe and separate themselves from their traffickers, hopefully forever, they can feel good, confident, and go into the interview and, in clothes that we are gently worn from all of our fashion-loving blogger girls, and, rock their interview and get that job. So,
and it is such a big part. I've learned that, and going back to like how we pivoted through COVID, I felt guilty talking about fashion initially when so many people were at a
Me
loss.
too. Yeah.
But then I realized that fashion is a way for us to have creativity and expression,
It's
and
an escape.
expression of
Yeah.
self.
Yeah.
And that I've learned that since none of us are pushy salespeople, you could come into our store and we're just going to talk to you, find out what your interests are. And it's more about education. It's about using and about, I know that when I wear something that I feel good about, I feel better. And I think these traffic victims, and we're doing this with Houston 20 already, so we should connect and collaborate together.
Yes, definitely.
Erica Bagwell and Amy Pierce, we're pulling together these clothing items from friends, and so many of us have been clearing out our closets,
Which has been good.
Yes.
The perfect opportunity to do that right
so
now.
we've been at home with COVID. But so we will please direct message either Britny or myself, and we will let you know where you can make these donations.
Yes.
But it is an important part of the journey. And I've also come to this place that for a few weeks I wasn't talking about our products, but then I learned that I really dug deep, prayed about it, thought about it, and because we buy products, we also are giving people an opportunity to clean out things, get money if they need it.
True,
But we're
yes,
selling
yes.
things that have a value, and it's not disposable products like you might buy. And I certainly like Zara, I shop at Zara.
Me too.
But our products aren't disposable, so you're actually making an investment into something that you can use and have for generations to come.
Absolutely.
It's sustainable. It's not leaving a carbon footprint. And I read about your experience of buying your first Chanel bag.
Yes.
And I thought that was so interesting. Will you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. So when I was in my corporate role, I was really you could say I was proud of myself. I had graduated college. I was in the medical space for 7 years. And I had always dreamed, you have like this dream, like as a little girl, like, oh my gosh, one day I'm going to get a Chanel bag. And that sounds, I don't want to come off as like sounding materialistic about it, but it's kind of just, I'm like, if I just had one bag that was like the bag, that would be it. And I'd be happy forever, So it was just a little goal that I made myself, and, a little bonus here, a little bonus there, working. And, I bought it and I was so excited about it. It was like the thrilling moment. I was like, I finally did it. Here's my bag. I'm so excited. I'm going to have this forever. Love it.
And you bought pre-owned instead of new.
I did because I really did some research, and honestly, I mean, it looked brand new. I mean, I did some heavy research, like making sure that it's authentic, has a certificate.
How the stitching lines up. How all it matches.
Exactly.
How the heat stamp on the inside is this way with this script and all the
you
different...
guys know all
Right.
about that. Yeah.
I know more about handbags than I ever should. But because everything in our store we buy, we don't take consignments. So we write a check, and I'm in the store more often than Danae is. Back when she was a mom and taking our daughter to school and doing stuff like that, I had to learn it because I'm just not going to blindly have someone tell somebody, oh, yeah, this bag's real. I open it up, I look it, I smell it, I make sure it's all correct, and then I look for all the right markings. And Chanel over the years has changed their font on their stamp, on their hologram on the inside of their bag over the years. It's all changed.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They did. But they're consistent on how they put their stitching together, is always consistent, and they don't have a second, meaning it's either perfect or it's not sold. They don't make seconds, and someone goes, oh, this was a scratch and dent and Chanel sold it because it was a little bit off. It's always perfect.
Yeah.
Same with Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton at the end of a season, if they haven't sold all their bags, instead of putting them on sale, Louis Vuitton destroys them.
Wow.
If they make too many of them.
I didn't know that.
No, that's why they build brand loyalty and value.
Right.
It has resale value because there's not an abundance of them out there being discounted.
Yes, and that makes so much sense too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's come to a place in society. I noticed that you said not to be materialistic, but I think it's a hard balance because there's so much judgment. There's so much judgment on, are you who you say you are? Are you? And I think that people can still have nice things and invest in nice pieces.
Yeah.
And truly care about the community and truly care about other people. And I feel like hardworking people are scrutinized by the lifestyle so much, and I hope that we can come to a place to find balance. And that's the other reason that I really wanted to step into the podcast world, is I feel like so much there's a stereotype. If you're attractive and well-dressed, people presume that you're not educated and you're materialistic.
Right.
And that's the basis of your life. And so if you're talking about stereotypes, that's certainly one. I mean, I've had people that have heard me speak in public after knowing me and even going to lunch with me and say, oh, wow, I didn't know Danae knew that much. So you are a beautiful woman has a chemistry biology. Like, tell us about that journey. Have you found that people presume something about you, too?
I think so. I don't know if it's the red hair or the fake spray tan, but I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I felt that, along the way, over the years. But I really have not cared, I guess, what anyone really thinks. Mm-hmm. But all I really care about is my close friends and family. They know who I really am, and if I become friends with you, you'll know who I really am. So, people may have thought something, maybe that I wasn't educated or, that I'm rich, which I'm not, So I think
do have a paid-for Jeep.
I do have a paid-for Jeep. We work really hard in our family. I think everyone deserves to reward themselves every now and then for the work that they do,
Well, and I noticed that we, the way that Rania and I came together for Crime Stoppers is we were actually robbed at our home of handbags.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Well, we met before that when Bella and I wrote our children's book, but we talked about Crime Stoppers, but then when you're a victim of crime, you look at it in a different way, and just so much, again, about this journey with George Floyd. Like, I can't feel what they felt because I haven't walked a mile in their shoes. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to understand everyone's journey so I can have sympathy and empathy. And we don't all have to experience what everyone else experiences to understand it or to have pain for them in their journey. And I thought it was so sad that people said, well, they deserve. So we were on several TV stations to try to find who robbed us. And many people said they deserve to be robbed because they had that many products and they deserve to be robbed. And
Haters are going to hate.
Right.
And I think that that's just part of the journey. And I think we all just have to continue talking and educating.
Yeah.
And even if we were rich or successful, but if we use our gifts to keep paying it forward, and you wrote down a scripture about, was it about the seeds? No, there was something else about tithing and about sharing.
Yes.
I think that that's such an important part of it is that we, I know we have such a small platform, but I feel like we use our platform for good to have these discussions.
Yeah.
We are known as fashion girls, and we can talk about its significant
Speak for
issues.
yourselves. I'm not known as a fashion girl. My friends give me a lot of flack about it, but yes.
Yes, but that you're known for being a success in your industry, so you use your platform to spread information that can be positive for the community. But we're doing it wrong sometimes, and we're imperfect
No one's
in the way
perfect.
that we're doing it.
You know.
And I find that it's so hard for young kids, like our daughter, who is now 13,
Yeah.
who's
Oh,
had
gosh.
so many journeys with friends, and there's so many different. She was on Snapchat. She's not any longer. She's minimally on Instagram, but just even these different things that come at her and these comments people make. It's been it's really hard. So we started this new program that I have loved, and I haven't done it the last couple days, but every day we share what we love about her. with her.
Five phrases or 5 words, 5
Aw,
good words.
That is really awesome.
And so I recommend that to parents struggling also to connect with their teenage kids, because
Yeah.
she also thinks that we're so uncool and so embarrassing and doesn't want to spend time with us.
Uh-huh.
But your little ones still
Oh my
love you
gosh.
dearly. And
I have a 3-nager now, so we are in that stage, and it's
a three-nager. I
a
didn't know that.
three-nager.
That's a good way to put the
I
3-year-old.
Yes.
The 3-year-old's an
love
interesting
that.
age.
yeah. So he is amazing,
Does
and
he say no a lot? Is that the...
he says why a lot now. So we're
Oh.
getting tested a little bit by him, but that's to be expected, I think. And he's just a ball. He's smart. We love him, and oh my gosh, I'm in love with him. He's so cute.
Well, I think it's awesome that you can also give parenting. You talk to women about who are thinking about starting their own business. I love that you shared the mommy guilt side of it, because
Yeah.
I know when Bella was younger, and even now still a little bit today, I feel so much mommy guilt. And then also, like, we look at ourselves because we're taking pictures of ourselves and we see our imperfections, and we're getting close to running out of time, but maybe you can share a little bit of those tips with women, and like how you've come to this place that you're so real, and how do you find a way to love yourself every day with all your imperfections.
I think that that's just what you have to do, and accept it for what it is, and just know that every day you can be better and learn something new, share with people and help other people. I've enjoyed sharing what I know from what I've learned in my experience with other people, and that's been my biggest joy by being a blogger. And it's been really fun. You know, I've met so many amazing people, and about the mom guilt, I think no matter what you do, you're gonna feel guilty at some point. I'm now working at home on our businesses, and I still feel guilty because I probably spend more time working on my businesses than I even did at my corporate job, and I was
Right.
traveling. Because when it's your own hustle, you have to be on it at all times. And, and here's Fisher next to me, like, let's go play, let's do this. And I'm like, oh gosh, So of course it's all about balance. Don't beat yourself up about it though, because, that's just part of being a mom, I think. And you're doing this not only to help other people, but in the long term, your kids are going to see the drive and the ambition that you have to work hard, and they're going to want to model that in the future. So that's what I like to think about.
Yes, and I also had some therapists tell me along the way, and school counselors, to share my journeys of defeat, to show that it is okay to show your child that it's okay to falter, and that
Yeah.
in failing we can achieve
learn.
success and we can overcome all of that. So when you were dating your husband, how did you know he was the real deal?
Oh my gosh. So this is a funny story. So I came to Houston because I had a job opportunity and I took it. And I was happy because it was either San Antonio or Houston. I was already in the San Antonio area for my whole career in college. So I was ready for a new city, a new place. I didn't know anyone except my best friend. So it was kind of a scary transition, but I came to a get-together where we all kind of were getting to know each other at dinner. It was like a company function at Lupe Tortilla. And he was already there. And when I'm walking up, it's like literally we look at each other and it's like something happened. And it was like...
Oh, I love
So like he
that.
smiled at me and I smiled at him. And I was kind of like, is he looking at me? And I like kind of
Is
looked
there a
around
clock
like,
behind me?
yeah, what is going on? So then I'm like sitting down and he comes over to me and I had come with my coworker and he's like, is that your boy? And I'm like, what? Is that my boy? Who is this guy? So then I was like, okay, whoa,
Not.
get out of here. And I guess at some point I had gotten up to go talk to some friends of mine and he put his phone number in my phone somehow. And so,
Wow.
yeah, which was pretty bold, if I do say so. And so I didn't notice that until I got home and I was like, did he really? And I let it go for like 2 weeks. I was like, I'm not going to talk to this guy. I'm not going to reach out first. I'm the girl. He should be coming after me, you know? And so I finally broke down and I called him and he was like, does your name start with a B? And I'm like, yeah, like regretting my decision to call already. And he's like, oh my God, I've been literally begging like my friends to hand me over your contact info. I was like, didn't even realize what happened. I put my phone number in your phone. I've been looking for you all like this entire time, like who you were and how to get your contact. So it was funny. And then from then on, we were pretty much inseparable. And I moved in and I never left. So
I love it.
yeah, it was
Aw.
funny. So here we are today.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Well, working with your spouse is definitely a journey. So we
Yes.
applaud you for that.
Yes.
And
King size beds can get small sometimes, just to let you
Right?
know, with a little experience here.
well, we have loved hosting you.
Thank you.
Are
This was so fun.
so authentic and real and beautiful and amazing, and your stories of connection and commitment are really moving, and I will continue to follow you and want to continue to collaborate.
yes,
And in fact,
for sure.
we're going to do a giveaway next week of
So
a Goyard
excited.
keychain, so everyone stay tuned.
Yay.
And we're finalizing our giveaway with the Louis Vuitton with Johnny Dang. So if you
Oh, yes, I've seen that.
Yes,
I've
so
seen
if
that.
you like us and like him and connect two friends on Instagram, you can win there.
So
and tell us
fun.
about your giveaways.
Yes, so the Gilded Hive, we're running a raffle. So all you've got to do to enter is head to the website. There's instructions on how to enter. It's super easy. It's a package of our most favorite items worth over $160, and they're hand-selected. Very, very pretty. My favorite pieces probably in our whole collection. So head over and enter to win.
Is it
Yes.
thegildedhive.com?
It is www.thegildedhive.com.
And I'm enjoying my C for Contessa or Cremosta.
It looks so cute on you.
Thank you. All right, guys, have a great week. Until next week. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.